So I'm going to go through a quick and really interesting use case that we just saw with AdvisorClaw. And this is for a client that does a lot with options data. And so they have a subscription to ORATS, which is, as far as we're concerned, the gold standard for options data. Highly recommend this for anybody that's doing anything related to options. And again, because AdvisorClaw is open architecture, you can wire in any of your existing APIs, whether it's a CRM or options data feed, and then build an agent around that. So in this particular case, they just did this yesterday. They do a lot in the way of structured notes. So they were looking at this structured note, which is an auto call. For those that aren't familiar, there's kind of a lot of path dependencies here. It's a lot of manual work, even if you have the scripts. And so they built that into a skill and have their DeepSeek agent basically do what they were doing before, having a junior analyst do before, analyze this node. So it's running Python scripts, running custom skills, and it's coming back and basically saying this one is unattractive. You're essentially selling cheap vol, which is always the name of the game. Either sell expensive vol or buy cheap vol, and giving the numbers that these guys typically like to look at. And so this was a really powerful use case, because this took a couple of minutes to do an analysis that they would typically spend close to 30 minutes doing, even with the data at hand, using the same APIs. Then they were able to go back. The benefit is, what term should I go back to the issuer with that would make this more attractive? So again, the agent can now very quickly parse all the data and the API feed quicker than any human could. And again, even a human running the same scripts, the agent can run tools concurrently, can run them much more quickly. It's very deterministic because they built the skill to force the agent to look at things a certain way. And it's basically saying there's just nothing to do here. So again, for a group like this that's looking at a lot of different nodes, this is, we thought, a really powerful use case. This was another one they looked at. I believe it was just the rare earths. And so again, here we can see the agent's reasoning, the output here. Basically a similar story. Vol is cheap. They went back looking for better terms. Agent comes back, says pretty much the same thing. Now, this was interesting because the client said, all right, if vol is cheap and we're constructive on this over the longer term, is there a cheap options play here? And so again, it can reason and, it can run the tools on the API options data, reason over it, and do the same job as an actual analyst. And so I thought this was interesting. They said, just go scan the horizon from 30 days to 1 year out and find, some of the most interesting trades for us. And here's what it came back with. So again, this is the benefit of owned AI that sits within the firm, is as opposed to going out to different SaaS products and dealing with, basically chatbots on top of that. These are agents that live and breathe in your firm. You control them. You tell them how to think, what to do, what tools to have access to, give them the appropriate APIs, and they act as employees on your behalf.